How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is turning into a vlog I was not anticipating. I guess it's kind of exciting depending on the mood you're in or how you look at it. I am in Creston, BC. I left Boxing Day, which is today, from Calgary to go see my family in BC. And long story short, the highways are an ice rink, especially after Yak. We'll catch up. I'll bring you all up to speed about the situation in a minute. I've got my daughter with me, and needless to say, we're staying in a hotel tonight because the sun's about to go down and there's about a 3-hour wait for a ferry one way and the highway is closed the other way. So we are just going to have some daddy-daughter time and salvage the evening and have some positive memories made from this really unfortunate situation. But I'm gonna get the van situated, get into the hotel room. We'll catch up when we catch up.
I wonder what it is. Oh, the squeaky bird gets it. Buddy, just calm down.
Oh my God, you finally got it after all this time.
We're debating for orders.
Project number 2. Apparently there's a T-Rex clearing snow around here. That is one big ass tractor. Anyway, guess we should get to the point of this vlog, which I guess we'll start at the beginning. My intention for this entry in the vlog was completely different than the way it sort of planned out. Now that did happen well before I left to get out here. I'm at my parents' place in BC. Obviously. And initially I wanted this to be a bit of a surprise for my mom, for myself and my daughter to be out here right after Christmas. I wasn't going to let her know. But then of course I had my problems with Lucky. She was disabled. She had to get towed, probably frozen gas, yada, yada, yada. I brought my mom up to speed on that. And then once I had Lucky running, I left anyway. Now this is just a perfect example of if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because, oh man, I better put this out here and talk about it. Now I didn't film a lot of what happened because quite frankly, when shit hits the fan and your stress level goes through the roof, at least for me, I just sort of like to dig in and deal with the problem as opposed to trying to make a movie out of it. That's definitely something I want to work on going forward, but sometimes you've got time sensitive issues happening where you just got to focus, you don't have time to pull out the camera, or it would just be irresponsible to be filming it, and that is what happened in this case for the most part. There were other moments where I could have filmed a little bit better, but like I said, I'll try to get better at that going forward. But I stand by what I said when there are some moments where it's just not appropriate to be filming. And case in point, this whole adventure sort of kicked off on the highway between Yak, BC and Creston, BC. It was raining the entire trip ever since we left Calgary, well, ever since we hit BC, because this province is ass backwards. And the highway between Yak and BC was, well, an ice rink. You're sort of leaving Yak, you go across this bridge and you turn left and you come to this hill, kind of. It's a little bit of an incline. Either way, that was sheer ice. And I could tell that we were slowing down, and I knew in the back of my head, if we stop, Lucky's not going to go again. And there were cars behind me, 2 or 3. I could tell that I was in their way. So I sort of pulled over to the shoulder and I came to a stop, immediately resigning myself to the fact that we're dead now in the water completely. I try to go again, very slowly. I drop the van into 1, I try 2, I try 3. All that happens is my rear wheels, even though they are brand new winter tires, they just spin. They're just doing this on the ice. We're just la-di-frickin-da. I mean, maybe I was actually starting to slide backwards too when I didn't have the brake depressed. Gravy. So at this point, my stress level immediately goes through the roof because I have my daughter with me. If that hadn't been the case, it would have been a whole different ball game with the way the situation probably would have shaken out. So having her with me, she is number 1 priority. And when shit hits the fan and the situation goes from okay and pretty good to really crappy, it's just distress inducing. That's the easiest way to say that. So my brain starts to move a mile a minute. I'm like, well, I can't get up this hill, and we're still a good, I don't know, 30, 40 kilometers away from Creston, which is the next like sort of major town in BC on that stretch of the highway we were on. So I get the brilliant idea to throw the van into reverse. And my thought process is we're on the shoulder. We'll wait till the highway's clear. There's nobody coming up behind us. And I will reverse ever so slowly down and then turn and go back to Cranbrook, which is the previous town. I'm sure there's a place I could stay in Yak, but it's Yak. I didn't see anything open. So I throw the van into reverse and I start to turn, and sure, she goes backwards, but she's not turning. She's just sliding. She's not going anywhere. And we slide all the way across the highway, and boom, the driver's side rear tire in the snowy ditch. Okay, throw it in drive. Let's try to go. Nothing. Just tires spinning. We're not going anywhere. I am now facing the wrong way in the opposite lane. Thank goodness this was not a busy stretch of highway at that time of day, for whatever reason. Holy weather conditions. Now I'm at the point where I don't know what to do. I have to give a huge shout out to the truck driver that stopped and absolutely saved my bacon. Now, I filmed a little bit of footage because this was the moment where I'm like, I'm in my van, I've got control of the immediate situation, I can press record on my phone that just happens to be sitting on the dash. But I'm going to censor out any sort of identifying marks because the company that the truck driver works for doesn't allow them to stop and tow stranded people out, and I totally understand that. They want to cover their butt. If any damage happens to a vehicle that might be being towed, that could totally lash back at the company, and I do understand that, but on the flip side of that coin, help your fellow man. And I am super thankful for the gentleman that did stop and pulled us out of that ditch. Not only did he do that, he also showed me how to put my chains on my tires. I received some chains from a subscriber a few videos back, but I had never put tire chains on. And of course, yes, I've heard from multiple people, make sure you practice and learn how to put them on in nice weather and not in a shitty situation. That's 100% true. You should do that, but also still be smarter than I was. When I was stopped on the appropriate side of the highway, that's when I should have at least attempted to put my chains on, as opposed to reversing into a much worse situation. Because you need to be able to have some sort of forward or backwards momentum, which I did have until I hit the ditch. because you need that in order to actually put chains on your tires. So that happened. The semi-truck driver pulled me into the middle of the highway. We stopped there. He showed me how to apply my chains. We got them on. I detached from him and then took off, and I was able to go up the hill. Chains are a godsend. They're great. They're noisy as all get out, but you go like a hot knife through butter, as opposed to a stick of butter on an ice rink. So I get up to like sort of the top of the hill there, and I pull over to this sort of little outcropping rest stop-ish area because I want to recheck the chains and see what's going on. I didn't get them on quite tight enough the first time. They were kind of just sort of half hanging off the tire. So I repositioned all of that. I actually had to fix one of the locks on the chains because it had gone under Lucky's tire and gotten sort of crushed. So thank goodness I had some pliers and my Leatherman with me to bend that back into shape. That won't mean much to you if you've never put tire chains on. And hey, Sarah Rose, I saw your comment on Patreon. Yeah, I grew up in Alberta, but you don't need tire chains when you live in a city in Alberta. And let's not forget, this is the first time in my life I've done any sort of winter adventuring in anything. And I'm doing it in a bloody rear wheel van. If it was a perfect world, it'd be a 4x4. Then I'll learn all the stuff, but I digress. I'm then able to go and get myself clear of the ice that's on the highway. You can only go like 50 miles per hour or something, 30 kilometers an hour. No, it's 30 miles per hour, which is 50 kilometers per hour when you have tire chains on. The chains are so insane. They've got little links on the inside and the outside of the tire. That's where you tighten them down. And if you have to go super tight, then there's excess chain happening, and that shit's flopping against the inside of your wheel well, and it actually tore the end of my diesel heater muffler clean off of Lucky. It still works, but now it's just the little DIY patch thing I did well over a year ago is now bye-bye somewhere on the highway in BC. So, okay, that was nerve-wracking. It probably took up a total of 2.5 hours. Thank goodness my kiddo had just had a nice long nap. Right before that happened, that when she woke up, she was more than content to just watch her cartoons and have a peanut butter sandwich. That's something I was able to make for her before we ended up in a very unfortunate situation. That was right before the semi-truck showed up. So at that point, I decided I'm looking at the weather app, I'm looking at the Drive BC website and checking out the highway. They had closed the highway from Creston to Castlegar, and the other way that you can go, it takes you to a ferry. Because the other way was closed, I heard through a local in Creston that it was a 3-hour wait for the ferry. The sun sets around 3:30 in BC this time of year because of the mountains. Pitch black. I still had probably, I'd say 3 hours to drive to my parents' place from where we were. And I wasn't planning on doing that in the pitch black with my kiddo, who was going to be getting more and more tired as the day sort of waned on. So I made the judgment call to stop and stay at a hotel in Creston, which, silver lining, was a really nice time for me and her to just relax. We got checked in. We went and had some dinner. We had a little snowball fight, watched some movies, made popcorn, went to bed, got a pretty good night's sleep till she woke up at the ass crack of dawn, as she do. And then I decided, all right, well, we're gonna hit the road as early as possible. It rained all night, but the temperatures didn't drop below 0. So it was actually doing a pretty good job of clearing any sort of ice off of the roads. And it's just slushy and wet, which these, what do I have? Wrangler Duratrack tires are great. They are the cat's ass when it comes to getting through snow and slush. When it comes to ice, I should have studied them. I got them through work, which was an amazing deal with my job there. I get them at a discounted price, and I'm able to pay them off over the course of 6 paychecks, which with the way tires are priced right now is a godsend in and of itself. I knew the tires were going to do great in slush. So I was like, well, let's go down. We'll have our little continental breakfast that was included with our room, and then we will get on the road. And I think we hit the road at about 7. The ferry was departing at 9. So I'm like, okay, well, it's only an hour and 20 minutes to the ferry from where we were. That gives us plenty of time to get there. Once we hit the road, I realized, oh, damn, we haven't crossed the time zone yet, and we've now left an hour earlier than we needed to. We could have slept in a little bit more. So we're going to be at the ferry waiting. Well, it's like the universe said, no, I'm not done messing with you just yet. Let's have some real fun and really lean into your dad's side of responsibilities. We're going and we're driving and we're going good. You know, we're well under the speed limit because it's questionable weather conditions and it's dark out still, like pitch black. Very pretty. There's a lot of houses along this stretch of highway that are still lit up with their Christmas lights, and that was beautiful. But after about the, 10th or 11th turn, my kiddo starts to get this like funny look on her face, and she starts sort of whining and complaining. And it's at this moment that I realize I have completely forgotten that she gets violently car sick on these twisty roads in British Columbia, which, if you're not familiar with British Columbia, is pretty much the entire province. She had had a lot to eat for breakfast that morning. I was actually feeling quite proud of myself. I got her to eat something healthy. She had some mandarin orange slices. Right on. Pat on the back. Everything, everywhere, out of her, multiple times over. I can't begin to describe that sort of feeling if you've never experienced it. If you're a parent, I guarantee you've experienced it at one point. But in this situation where my stress is already through the roof through everything that sort of happened, granted it had been starting to come down, but let's get serious. I am now kicked into dad mode. I've got my arm over on her, comforting her while she's crying. Understandably, she's covered in yuck. I am slowing down and making sure I'm being extra cautious with the roads that are still twisty and turny. And I'm trying to find a place to pull over. And it is this point that I am cursing the entire province of British Columbia for not having more roadside turnoffs, specifically when I need them. It's very inconvenient and somebody should look into that. So we're going along, I'm holding her and comforting her, and I'm steering, and I'm looking, and I'm cursing. And I say, where is a turnoff? Why is there a turnoff? Why is there a turnoff on the opposite side of the road? That's not convenient for me. And then I get somebody coming up behind me with his brights on. And you know, now, fair is fair. Whoever was in this car, they have no way of knowing the situation that is currently developing inside of Lucky. So that is fine. I don't hold that against them. What I do hold against them is the fact that they are driving in the manner in which they are driving, with their brights on, with the road conditions the way that they are. Back off and be more responsible. So he's on my butt. He's not willing to pass me because it's not safe to do so, but he is willing to ride my ass and blind me. That sure doesn't lend itself to helping the situation at all. So we're going along. Finally, I see one coming up on the opposite side of the highway. Still a fairly dead stretch of road, thank goodness. I'm able to pull over, and I'm able to get her out of her car seat, change her clothes, wipe her down, clean her up, get her settled, and then, of course, go to work on the car seat, which still smells like mandarin oranges and peanut butter. Hang on. That whole situation, of course, well, we've been up since 4 o'clock because it's my kid, exhausts her. So once she gets settled again, she immediately falls asleep, which, there we go. Another win for me because we've got this extended wait at the ferry. So we get up to the ferry line. We stop there. She's sawing logs. I'm able to sort of gather my thoughts. It's that moment I start to have some sort of this like reflection time about the situation. And I can still stand here right now and say, I'm very thankful that I have my entire house with me when stuff like that happens. If that had been just any old sedan or whatever, or a pickup truck that we had been in, and she had hurled her biscuits all over the place at 7 a.m. in the morning on the side of a rainy, cold winter road, that would have been a much harder situation to sort of resolve. I'm probably standing with the door open, getting pelted by rain, trying to clean her up. She'll be getting splash damage from the rain onto her, which is just going to add to her temper tantrum that she is understandably having. And it's that moment that I think about that situation, and I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad I have my house with me. I don't know that I would ever want to not have my house with me. So, van life to the rescue in that sense. And then you think that's it. Great. Road's clear. For the most part, they were. And we rolled on into my parents' house, and everybody was happy and hunky-dory, and it was a great time. Then I realized Lucky decided to throw me another wrench, or throw another wrench into the works, however you say it. I thought the cats had puked on the bed. The bedding and the pillows were wet. In my tizzy of trying to get my kiddo settled and cleaned up and calmed down, I didn't have time to truly inspect what was going on. I just assumed, because that's just sort of one of my cats' MO. They don't always have stuff that comes up. Sometimes it's just bile. So I didn't see anything, but I felt wet. Wasn't cat puke. Turns out, someone actually did blow a hole in my ship. That person was me. The fan in the back of Lucky is leaking. Let's go take a look, shall we? So again, I didn't film much of this when I was dealing with it last night. I got a couple clips on Patreon that I shared with them. My initial thought was, oh gosh, we're gonna need lights. I wish I had a clapper to sort of... Didn't work. Hang on. Turn on the house lights. Yes, the house is in a complete state of disarray, which is just what happens when stuff like this goes wrong. And just look at this rat's nest of stuff that I have to do. And this was ill-advised, but I was already heightened, stressed out, and I didn't understand why my house was leaking. But the water was dripping from this board here, which means that it was coming from above, right? So it's actually dripping down the wall and going all the way down to the floor. It filled this little bucket up in about, well, didn't fill it up, but it had a decent amount of water in about 25 minutes, enough to be very nerve-wracking. And it was also leaking from up here, which is where this trim piece used to live. Hang on. I can't put it back up. The LED strip is sort of holding those two boards together. So I undid this board that was up here, just a couple self tappers, undid that. This one actually just fell off, so that speaks to my shoddy craftsmanship. And I was able to pull the board down. You're not gonna be able to see up there, but there was damp spots right here and just along here. And so then that leads me to discover that it's the fact that I used regular old silicone to try to seal this fan. When I was here in July, I installed this secondary fan and I didn't have any leveling lap sealant, which is what I used on my first fan. That one's working great. Then the silicone just came off so easy around these little bolt heads that no wonder water's getting in. There's still quite a bit of water up here. So, Lucky's been in the garage. My dad and I, hang on, I'm gonna show you this. Because this wasn't an easy feat either, because the snow out here is a little nuts. We brought her in all through this slush, which you've seen in other videos. This is usually where I hitch my boat up and whatnot. But this stuff is, that is deadly snowball material snow, for sure. Was able to get Lucky in here, did get her stuck a little bit, but my dad and I dug out some snow here, and we were able to back her ass end in there last night so that she could dry out. I mean, I hadn't noticed this leak in Calgary, because I don't know which way the audio will be better. Where is he? See if we can see this guy. There he goes. Look at that guy. Appreciate you long time, sir. Thanks for clearing the roads. I didn't notice the leak in Calgary because I just left Calgary, which was -40. There's no water coming in through your roof in -40. Everything's frozen. But out here, getting pelted by rain in the drive from Creston to New Denver, and then just sitting here, and it was raining all day yesterday. It just finally sort of stopped this morning. So I was able to rip into Silverton today to the hardware store there, and one of the guys that works at the store actually lives in a bus, and he recommended I pick up this, which is the DAP gutter and flashing silicone. Yeah, so we're gonna give that a try. I'm gonna tear off all that old silicone, redo it with that stuff, actually use my finger to paste it into the seams. And then I'm gonna get a space heater up there and sort of point it right at that to dry it, because it's warm here. It says it's supposed to be above 4 degrees Celsius, and it will definitely dip down below that tonight. So yeah, this has been it's been a different way to spend this trip for sure. But I was able to build a snowman with my little girl and spend some good time with her and my mom and dad, who of course I missed having Christmas with them, but impromptu Christmas last night with the 4 of us, and my brother's coming over tonight. And oh yeah, there's our little snowman there. Boop. I'm not going to take you any closer because while I might be good at talking and editing videos, I'm not so good at constructing snowmen. But the snow is also violently wet. And by violently wet, I mean it's hard to jam rocks in to make mouths. Mouths? The mouth of the snowman. Anyway, my kiddo's having her nap right now, so finally able to sort of zen myself out from everything that's happened. And now I'm going to start dealing with the situation. Well, that's not fair. I've been dealing with the situations ever since they happened. It was just yeah, this is van life. This is my van life. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be yours, but it's stuff that could happen. What do they say? When it rains, it absolutely pours. All right, I probably should have done this last night because I tore off the silicone here, and this is quite damp under there. You can actually see the water there. So it's probably definitely one of my leaks, I would assume, and if not, it's gonna be one. So I'm gonna hit this whole area with a space heater, hopefully over the next couple hours. It'll dry it all out, and then I can hit it with the first layer of that new sealant. One of the reasons this is happening is because the roof back here is very uneven, more so than the regular factory roof that has the ribs. You had a big old dent, pretty much right where I put this fan. So it was a challenge to get it all sort of sealed up in the first place, which I clearly didn't do very well. And in typical Chevy fashion, a bunch of the paint came off as I took that silicone off. So that's a rust potential right there, but that sounds like a future map problem. As long as we get it covered up and there ain't no water coming into the house, that's the only goal right now. Got the boards back up. Clearly missing a P-clip somewhere. I'll fix that later. I'm not too concerned. And then I got to get some more white tape. That's what was kind of holding all this wiring up on the top of that board. And this one was super easy. Well, I shouldn't say super easy. This one was interesting. Board cracked, so it looks real ugly AF now. And I wasn't convinced that those screws in there would work, so I added these ones on the outside to sort of hold it up. Just for now. Eventually that whole thing will have to be replaced because it's gonna eventually just fall right onto my damn head. But it's got fairy lights and stuff attached to it right now that I don't want to have to worry about dealing with. And we got the space heater chugging away, drying this all out. Dry. Look. I've let the seam sort of dry out a bit. I ended up using my little Ryobi blower that I got from my Patreon supporter Martin from the UK. Thank you again, sir. It's just like a little blowing tool that, you know, it's used to inflate air mattresses and stuff. I used that to sort of blow out the water that had gotten in around the seam. And now I'm going to seal it up. Hopefully this works a little better than the nonsense I put up there the first time. But before I get up there, I need to fill up my diesel tank. I have had the diesel heater taken away on the lowest setting just to keep the interior of Lucky nice and hospitable. And we are almost at the threshold. So for those that might not know, when I installed my diesel tank, the first time I did it, I had my pickup line on the bottom of the tank down here. That's safe, a nice battery underneath your gas tank. Yikes! But it started leaking like a sieve, and I then discovered online that they are notorious for leaking when they're mounted in the downward position. As you can see, what that means is when the fuel level drops like here, this pickup line's not gonna be able to get any, and it'll starve the system of fuel, which will in turn turn the heater off. Now, there's benefits to both, and in this situation, or this configuration, I should say, it's definitely a benefit for me because I don't have a fuel filter on my system. If you've been around the channel since last year, you know why. We're not going to get into it here. This prevents the fuel pickup line from sucking any sediment on the bottom of the tank. The negative, of course, is I lose about this much fuel across the entire tank. So instead of 10 liters, I probably have like 8.5 usable. So I'm glad I have my overstock of diesel that I filled up quite a few videos back. Now I don't have to fire Lucky up and go into town. Although I guess I could just take my small jerry can and borrow my mom's car or my dad's car. Barely any cars are working around here right now. Let's fill a tank and cock a fan. It ain't pretty. In fact, it's downright ugly, but I don't care. I've spoken about that before on the channel, that it's all about function over form when it comes to stuff like this. I think I'm going to hit it with the heater now for a few hours, let it set up, and I'll probably give it another layer just because I'm done messing around with this. I really need to stop saying that because now that I've said that, it's probably just going to start leaking on the way back to Calgary. Fingers crossed it doesn't. I really went to town with this stuff. It definitely feels better than the last stuff I used. It feels more waterproof and maybe even like weatherproof, because probably what happened is with all those crazy -40 temperatures, the silicone that I had on here shrunk and cracked and broke free, and that's probably what led to the leak. But I don't know. I'm not a scientist. This is interesting. I'm actually just taking a little bit of a break. Kiddo's having her nap. I wanted to do some more filming for my Sharing Your Stories vlog, so I came out to New Denver to get some access to the water, because where my parents live, there's just this, they don't plow, and it's a little bit of a walk to the water's edge. So I thought, hey, I'll come down to the beach at New Denver, go through the campground. I've never been here this time of year. Well, I was here in January last year, but I don't think I came down to the campground here? I can't remember now. I'll have to go watch my own videos. Anyway, all this is to say, I ain't going anywhere. That's where I want to go to. Down there is like the volleyball beach and swimming area of the town here. Yeah, okay. I get it. Stop. So not getting through that way. I'm just in my dad's car. Because Lucky's still in the garage and that seal is sealing. I wonder if we can get over there, see what it's like. There are cars there, so I bet I can get to the boat launch. Well, same situation here. This is just they plowed in, but this is actually the campground circle. See all the picnic tables over there. Those are the sites. Okay, I understand. The key's still in. This car is so moody. They just stopped plowing right here. That's it. Even now, it's not even enough room to back, like to turn around. I'll have to just back out when I do leave. But look at this. You see this? Here, hang on. Right, the picnic table's all covered in snow. Right, like, oh, hello. Then there's that one that has 0 snow on it. I kind of want to see if I can get over there. That'd be a perfect place to sit and do another entry in this sharing stories stuff. Oh, I can do this. That ain't too bad at all. I do need my computer though, so let's not forget that. There. See you in a minute. Made it. Still my favorite place on earth, but it is cold as shit out here now. I say that all dramatically. It's not that bad. It's not like Alberta cold. But I've been sitting here yapping as I do for about 20 minutes. It's starting to get to my bones. And yes, I did change my shirt because I filmed 2 entries for sharing your stories because I felt so bad at being so far behind. All right, let's get our trudge on back to the car. How many people thought I was going to do some nice music shots of me walking back to the car right there? I don't feel like running back and forth to my camera right now. We're just going to walk back to the car together. Got my dad's nice warm gloves on because I'm very irresponsible and didn't bring mine. And my pillow from Priscilla, which is, at this point in the year, the only reason these videos are still happening. Bag is falling off your shoulder. Oh, it's like, every time I'm here, I could so live out here. This is where you'll find me when I'm 75. Alright. Time to get back to the house. Warm up. Have some dinner. You come back, you do some editing, your little brother shows up and immediately gets on mom and dad's roof to start knocking off snow. Hashtag BC life. And he reminded me, if I fall, it's content. I mean, he's not wrong.
Well, maybe just leave the little ridge there as safety ridge for you.
You're doing great. Say hi to YouTube.
Oh, hello, YouTube. You can do a little bit of this where it's overhanging, and then I'll clean it up. Yeah, that didn't look like the fridge thing.
We're not messing around. This stuff's serious.
Oh, that was good.
Stop making so many noises back here.
This a big one.
There we go.
The whole overhang about 3 feet.
Oh, yeah. Like the snow is just nutty here. And this is nothing compared to what it was. But the coming out this way.
You walk through there along the side. You can go see what he's doing.
Well, yeah, that's what I want to do. Go traipsing through this in my Converse. Oh! That's a bad idea. I've only got Converse on. It was like this deep. Screw this, I'm going home. I just come out here to check on Lucky before dinner. Ugh. Yeah, she's tacking up nicely, but she's still quite soft. So hopefully by morning, this will be harder and I'll be able to put another layer all around this sucker. Ugh. And then hopefully she'll be livable again. Well, isn't that just stinking beautiful? I don't know if I've ever seen such a beautiful day in the winter in this area of this province. This probably has something to do with the fact that I very rarely come here this time of year. Anyway, the temperatures are not ideal to what I would need for the silicone to be curing properly. So I've been alternating heat and, well, no heat, because I think like that little space heater is probably too hot and is having an adverse effect to it curing. It just needs to be, those temperatures just need to be right. So obviously this is not going to help, but I've got a few more days out here. Hopefully it'll just get its poop in a group, as they say. The snow is definitely causing some problems. We were wanting to try to get my dad's truck out of the garage. We got as far as here. The truck is there and it got stuck. And then Dad and I fought for about 45 minutes just to get it out of this lower ice area. And then we just said, screw it, we're not going to keep fighting. We just shoved her back in the garage. I think I'll be putting the chains on Lucky's tires in the garage before I try to pull her out in a couple days. It is very pretty though. All right. And the snow has stopped, which is beautiful as it was, is a good thing. I wouldn't want it to be piling up and make my drive back to Calgary that much more nerve-wracking. Anyway, my little kiddo is having her nap right now, so I figured I would take advantage of that and try and get a little project done around the van that I've been wanting to do for a while. I recently purchased I purchased another Chinese diesel heater. That means that I've got all of the additional little parts that come with it, and I guess it's the ducting that goes from the heater through my wheel well to the vent where it exits into the living space of the van. It's all sort of tattered and damaged, and it doesn't quite sit on the inside of the vent well. It's all torn to, well, let's say rat shit. So I'd like to get in there and put the new ducting in, because not only is it damaged, I cannot stretch it and cut it and trim it and make it look pretty anymore to fit on with the hose clamp that's supposed to be holding it on. So we'll do that. But unfortunately, to get to it, it requires a little bit of preparation with the way that I have my van built, which is super annoying. So we're taking advantage of the fact that we have a shelter above the van and we can take everything out from underneath the bed and sort of like put it in my boat and whatnot. And I know I didn't show this when I was yapping about it earlier, but here's my muffler right now. Diesel heater ticking away. I'll have to turn that off. But yeah, I had it had its exit point right here, and I had a little 90-degree elbow on it to spit the exhaust out this way. And my tire chains just, bam, tore it right off. I mean, I guess I could replace the muffler if I wanted to. I got another one of those, but one thing at a time. Okay, I guess all things considered, that wasn't too bad. It's definitely easier when you're not having to do it all inside the van because you're in a Walmart parking lot. Built my bed as a convertible couch. Does that make sense? So I don't use it that often anymore because it's just one of the most inconvenient parts of my build, because when you're living full-time in the van, this space underneath your bed is very valuable for storage. This was the best of intents, but just didn't work out that way. So this will actually fold up and fold all the way down. And then my bed itself is on 500-pound drawer slides. I can close it right up. So that will give me easier access to that wheel well, which is where the ducting is. And it comes out on that little black vent right there. And then also, this is how I would access the storage that's in this wheel well box and my electrical system, including my batteries in this box. It's not snowing out, but it's still kind of cool. So we're going to kick off our shoes here. Try to not get any yuck on our socks. Up into the house. And then close the doors to keep some of the heat in here, because I did turn the diesel heater off. Come here, you. Bye-bye. Yikes. Nailed it. Why is that light on? Okay, so I got everything cleared off of this wheel well. We now have access to it. I'm keeping just a few things in here over on this side, because if you were watching, let me turn my light on my toque. Yeah, that's better. So down in here, this is the ducting. Doing stuff like this is always hard because it's so tight quarters in here. But this is what I'm going to be replacing is this entire thing, because, oh, there you go. It's not even on. So like it'll still blow out the vent, but obviously hot air is escaping into this wheel well box. So it's just not that efficient. I mean, I don't think the diesel heater settings will change. It's not like I'm going to get better diesel mileage or whatever, but it's just something that's been bothering me, and as you can see, it's sort of like all torn up and yuck. I just hope that the new one is the same circumference. Let's find out. A box of stuff. So when you get one of these diesel heaters, we'll turn off your light so you're not blinding people. Whole bunch of I guess you could call them accessories. Oh look, it's the crappy fuel line that you shouldn't use. Your exhaust pipe, right? Your mounting plate. Here's the new muffler. Yeah, see, it's supposed to have an end on either side. Maybe I should replace it, because mine, hang on, my muffler, I'd stuck my finger in there when it broke off. Everybody just calm down. And there's a bunch of like half moon shavings and stuff. And I think it's these wires in here. They were all just sort of coming out. This is like ribbed inside. Hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to replace it. I'm gonna just remove it. I know a couple of Vanlifers that don't even use the muffler. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Tamara. And Amber. Not that you installed yours. And here is the new ducting. Yeah, that's it. It looks to be about the same. Hello? Hello? Yes, very good. Eureka, hang on. So I just remembered I had this is the other section that I cut off of my original diesel heater ducting. See, it just, this stuff is so cheap. It just tears. So I'm going to try and cut that. See if I can use this one first. It's kind of accordioning. It's like an accordion, and you can stretch it a bit. I just don't know if that's going to be long enough to make that. Mine has to go like almost 90 degrees. I don't know if that's going to be quite long enough. But I'm going to try using this first, just so then I will still have this one as backup, and we can double check. Yeah, it looks to be about the same. Hot. Back down here. Move my slippers. And this is where I keep my diesel heater. It's in this. I made a little panel that I can remove, right? And then there's the other side of that. Now I need my tiny little screwdriver. I'm just going to remove this hose clamp, pull this out, and then see if that old piece works. Okay, great-ish success. I was able to use that leftover piece, which is great, which means I have even more ducting left over now. Awesome. But the way that this got installed, there's this screw right here that mounts the outside plate to the other side of this box. And that screw, let me see if I can... There you go. That's great quality. That screw right there is interfering with the hose, like with the ducting actually getting onto this sleeve, the black part here. So this, I mean, it's tight. These hose clamps are cheap AF, but it is tight. But if I pulled on this part, there you go. Perfect example. Did not mean to do that. Not ideal. I wonder if I have a screw that I can replace that with, because I would like to tighten that down more and just be done with it. What's this? Oh, look, there's a little screw right here. Let's see how this works. All right, so this guy I got to get out. Oh, frick, that's like barely in there. Just hand bomb that out. Yep. Maybe that'll solve my issue. Okay, cool. Is that, give me that? It's not even. Okay, never mind. Lucky's got a new mod. And that new mod is no screwing. Hang on. I think that thing had a bigger head on it, so it would have interfered with this. I'm okay with that. I can even just stick a little bead of silicone back there to stick it, but we'll leave it for now. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get that hose clamp back on the other side a little snugger. All right, now great success. Now it is on there and it ain't going anywhere. Sorry, the flashlight on my phone didn't turn off. Yeah, nice and tight. Double check it on the engine side. Pretty good. Now we'll just fire up the diesel heater and make sure the air goes through the hose. It'll be fine. Last day of 2022. I'm actually back down at Slocan Lake today because when I came down here the other day to film my entry for sharing your stories, I didn't have my lapel mic with me, which I thought wouldn't be a problem. I did a little bit of a test run, but unfortunately that test run, there was no wind. But then on the actual take, turns out there was a bunch of wind that I didn't notice because I was so into reading the stories. When I got back to my computer, completely unusable and unsalvageable. So came back out here today to do it again, and that's what we're going to do. I got my cushion ready out here on the rock, and we're just going to have a sit right here and do take number 2. All right, and here's the mandatory check-in on this situation. It's still tacky. We got one more night. Maybe I'll hit it with the space heater right now just for a couple hours before I do my New Year's Eve live stream. There is one more little van project I want to get done before I get to this live stream, and that is putting this motion sensor light, which I don't think I'm going to use it as a motion sensor light because I can see in the dark, but I will use the on-off switch for this. I've got 2 already. I've got one in my cupboard. I've got one right here. When I say cupboard, it's in the middle drawer of the hanging cabinets. Anyway, this third one, hang on, these were sent to me by a subscriber, and this one has just kind of been bopping around in Lucky. I'm like, where do I put it? Where do I put it? I think I've got the best place for it now. I'm just going to see how it looks. Let's turn it on. There we go. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Now the kitty cats have a light in their pooper. Whoops. Does the motion work? Yeah. Not that they need it, but for when I have to clean their turds at night. Now I don't have to use my flashlight, which I usually hold in my mouth. Yikes.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, and we have reached the conclusion of this winter chronicle journey that's been happening over the last week. I am on the highway back home. I am taking the Trans-Canada. Checked the road reports today. Everything is saying that it's going to be just fine. You can see it's a very beautiful day out. It's a little wet. The roads are quite slushy, but I'd rather have slush than ice. That is for damn sure. So we're about to get back on the road, get our butts back to Calgary. I cannot wait till I'm able to come out here again. I always hate leaving it, but at the same time, I'm pretty excited to be able to sleep in my own bed tonight. Not gonna lie. So I'm gonna leave this one here, you guys. Until the next one, just go out there, be happy, be creative, be yourselves. Most importantly, be positive. And I will see you all in that next one. And oh yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.